Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. Jake Plummer joined our podcast, and that's not a joke, Perna. That's right, Jake the Snake Plummer thought it would be smart to talk to Will Keys and I on the internet. So I'm going to play that conversation with Jake Plummer here today for all of you to see. All I ask is that you check out my second channel, Blue Wire Pods, and give it a sub for the podcast Will and I do every Thursday, and for some of the other Blue Wire pod clips that get posted there. Now, for the conversation with one legend, Jake Plummer. Welcome to the That's Good Sports podcast. We have special guest Jake Plummer here today, which makes my name and Will's name irrelevant. Howard Stern got Tom Brady. Well, we one-upped Howard Stern yet again by landing Jake Plummer, the first quarterback to beat Tom Brady in the playoffs. So, sorry, Howard. I know we keep stealing your thunder. But Jake, thanks for coming.
Too.
You're doing well. And before this podcast even started, Jake made sure Will and I were doing well, asked how everything was going because shit's crazy right now. So just know he's a good person. Before we even try to stump him with some tough questions later and
Thank you.
Get him going.
Oh yeah, we're throwing hard
Thank
balls at you.
I'm ready for anything you got, man. You know, this social isolation thing, you don't get to see a lot of people. And so doing this is the way we interact with strangers now, or not strangers, but people that don't live right around me. And it's good to do it. It's good to see faces and people looking like they're enjoying or getting through, not enjoying, but getting through this with some enjoyment in their lives. Because if there's not something you enjoy, times can get really, really heavy. So it's heavy times. So do what you enjoy, but send out love and hope and prayers to everybody. Hope everybody's safe and healthy.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing right now. Everybody's just kind of taking it day by day and hoping like we can get back to normal at some point. And the weird, that's like the thing Will and I have talked about several times here is like with our work being, on YouTube and podcasting, we've been minimally affected so far. And like before, it's like what we're doing is like such an underdog thing where we're like just scraping by all the time. And now we're in like a very fortunate and lucky spot because not a lot has changed for us. And who knows, in a month or two, if I'm like, well, it's all over. There are no more sponsors for shows or whatever, but
sports have ended officially.
Yeah. But first I want to talk a little bit with the draft coming up, in 2 weeks.
That's right.
They're saying they're going to do it basically like this. But I wanted to get your thoughts on who you think maybe the Broncos should take at 15, if you've been paying attention. If not, just say, I don't know, and we'll move on. But
don't care.
With their pick, I got to think back to when I was in like the 80s, okay, like early 80s, when I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old. I had these dreams and visions of one day when everybody would be talking to each other on screens, like when they'd come into those buildings and there'd be that virtual secretary to meet them in these futuristic sci-fi movies.
Right.
And now we're doing it. It's like we're on a screen talking to you. Like I can see you. I know I can see your smiles. I can see like where you live kind of, but I don't know you real well, but I'm going to get to know you eventually. We'll meet up and like, you're good, seem like a good guy, but we can't like give a dap or a hug or like a what's up. It's really a strange world. So who are the Broncos going to take at 15? I have no idea. I haven't read one thing about it. Take that, the best defensive, most fast, fierce, biggest, fastest defensive guy you can find, because you're going to need someone that can fly around. If you want to beat Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, good luck if you're going to draft some lead-footed, bulging bulk of a meathead. Go get the most athletic, flying around, whatever he is. If he's a quarterback, if he's a center, if he's a linebacker, if he's Von Miller's replacement, get that guy. Find him, whatever he is.
Most athletic guy available is where
the most heading. Freakish athletic guy you can find. And then, if he's tough or not, good luck. Hopefully he'll be tough. Come down here and play the game.
And if that guy's off the board, what I thought you were going to answer, Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver out of Arizona State.
Hey, man, if he's up that high, has he moved up that high in the boards?
They love him. He goes higher every day, I think.
Dude, he's got, like, I mean, as a kid and as qualities you would want your child to have for real. Like, obviously I never walked with him through campus or into a party in a dorm room or whatever. I mean, he's a kid. He's in college. I'm sure he had his fun. But he represents and comes often from people I talk to in the building at ASU, a solid young man, like straight up, like kind of guy you want to have on your team. And he's got mad skills. I think he's just barely scratching the surface of what his abilities could be. I think he could be a punt returner, kick returner, receiver / running back. Put him in, give him the ball at quarterback, man. Let him go. Just keep changing the NFL. Let's keep bringing in Taysom Hill types, but even less bulky and like want to run you over, more athletics, sinewy, adaptive. Because the game's got to get smaller and more lean. It can't keep getting bigger and bulkier and meatier. Because everyone's going to think back about what 3 years ago we were all talking about the brain, but we seem to have forgotten that. So, yeah, whatever I just said there.
Right. Well, like when you're watching like the NFL now, like when you went from the Cardinals to the Broncos, a big sort of thing was like, oh, Plummer's going to be a great fit for what they do offensively there. And it feels like your skill set is being so much more like embraced now by NFL offensive coaches and how it feels like they're building their schemes around maybe some of the more athletic quarterbacks. Like, if you had a chance to be playing like right now, where would you want to play? And do you think like maybe it's the NFL's tooled a little bit more to your skill set?
The game evolves. I mean, I'm going to do we have a podcast I'm doing with a buddy. We haven't launched it yet, but I've got Drew Bledsoe coming on. And there was a couple games early in his career where he threw, 69. I think he's tied with Goff, 65 attempps.
Wow. Yeah, against the Vikings. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're saying like, wow, this throwing game. And then, you got to be these mobile guys. Well, don't forget about Doug Flutie and Michael Vick and Randall Cunningham. And there's been athletic quarterbacks. It's just, the game has changed to where now so much more training is going on the other side of the ball.
Right.
For these positions that used to just be like damn near like, the medians between freeways that could move. They were just blocks that were stopping the downhill run and put your athletes on the perimeter. Well, now it's changed because how can you tell me some of these linebackers have played when I was playing? What would they do when Kyler Murray came up to them if they were big and bulky like that? He'd make them look stupid. He's still making these athletes look like idiots. So, like they never learned how to tackle. So, getting the game slimmed down, those athletic players is huge. And I think with quarterbacks, thank you for saying that, because as any ego-driven, competitor like myself that was a quarterback, I still have an ego. And when you say that, of course, this game is morphing into what would be a dream type game for me, where you could have a mix of everything.
Right.
And just, if you're feeling it, coach, I'm feeling it. Let's go 5 wide, spread these bitches out. Let me shred them. They cannot stop us.
Right.
Then you could do it because you have the personnel and you have the coach that's willing to push his players, prepare his players. And that's really the hard part, is preparing them, because you want to give them all this, but you also, you hope they can learn it. And, it's a great segue if you guys are ready for that.
Yeah. No, it's like you're a natural at that. But yeah, so tell everybody like what you're working on, and in doing so, like, because it on the website it said you played for 5 different offensive coordinators. So maybe I can set this up so it looks like I know what I'm doing. Which of those offenses was the hardest for you to sort of like learn and wrap your head around? And like, how would what you're doing help you sort of maybe grasp that more quickly?
Yeah, well said.
Was that like a good way to set that up?
Yes, of course. Man. So
That's it. It's 5 offensive coordinators that all kind of run similar stuff. Obviously, some have different formations or different amounts of runs, and maybe are more run-oriented rather than pass. But most of what I played in was the West Coast offense. So West Coast offenses, as some people know, they're very wordy because you're saying a concept like flank or drive, but you're putting everybody in a position where we can run flank or drive. It may be the Z is running the drive, one combination, and then the F is, and then your Y is, and then your T is, and your X is. And so you can see where I'm going with this. You got to know everything. And for me, that was the hardest. When I got here to Denver, was just almost every year I had to, day 1, day 2, day 3, about day 4, things started getting murky for me every year. I didn't have a photographic memory. So I spent a lot of time drawing out routes by hand because I was very tactile. I needed to draw. I needed to have that transmission from my head to my hand and out the pencil. And that's how I did it. And then watch film and do over and over and over. And we've tried to just make that more efficient. Utilize every learning style out there: tactile, auditory, visual, competitive learning when you're doing it around your friends, see who gets the best score. And we've created a drawing tool that's above and beyond any out there to create playbooks for coaches to send to their players so they can study them. And then on the back end, auto-generated tests will be sent back to the coach, the results of how much your players are retaining. And you'll know, cool. Like, all right, time to push them, or, oh, whoa, wait, we better pull this back, coach. They're all getting like 70%. We're not coaching right. And it's going to help the game. It'll help players excel. It'll help them have more fun, less coaches, God damn, and hitting them on the head. My coach in high school, like, God damn, no more peewees. And we're like, what's a peewee? And we're like, we can't beat ourselves. So we'd laugh, that was one of those things. He'd get fired nowadays in this environment we live in for that statement. But you got to know what to do, and it changes every year. You bring in new players. So we're trying to help the game. We're trying to help the trickle down of the Peyton Manning effect of the knowledge that you need to play. That's now slid all the way down to 8-year-old kids that are standing in shotgun, reading if the safety's 1 or 2, and if I got 2 safeties, he's hooking. If it's 1 safety, he's going. Like, that's unfair to this 8-year-old. It's really going to make him hate the game, or he's going to be one of those rare dudes that gets it. So we want to help them all just try to have a better time. So that's really what we're doing. And it's a remote learning tool. So right now we're getting a lot of people interested. A lot of coaches are calling us back, saying, hey, we want to look into this because our kids are all at home when we need to test them and know what they know, because I think we're going to get back to football, but who knows when that will be. But your players will be prepared if they have our stuff in Ready List Sports, for sure.
Yeah, now is definitely the time to get in. They can. And
we, you don't want to profiteer in times of this kind of peril, not just in a town where there's a flood or a tornado. I mean, the whole world right now. But if we can help smooth the transition out of this, and we're not gouging people with the price. We want to get it in your hands so you can, like, less stress, right? Less dealing with things. And right now, football isn't important, but people are at home with some time on their hands, maybe a little bit extra to check it out.
Right. And so you're trying to get this in front of coaches, and is that kind of who you're targeting right now for, like, for people who might be watching this show? It's like, if it's somebody's a high school football coach or a Pee Wee League football coach, this is really for anybody kind of in the coaching industry trying to teach their athletes, like, different parts of the game, how to play the game.
Maybe some guy at home who's like, man, I've always wanted to coach, but I just don't know what my offense would be, is listens to your podcast and goes, dude, $150 I could buy for 6 months this program and, like, build my own playbook. And then, like, could be that guy too. We don't know. We're definitely targeting, NFL for the splash. We've got a couple teams that have used it already, and the Cardinals used it last year. Cool. Tyler loved it, was on it. So, we haven't made big splashes with that yet because of some limitations and restrictions that were put down when the deal was done. But for us, we're just on the cusp, man. And like I said, we want to help these coaches, and could be for the mom that gets volunteered to be the coach now because dad doesn't have time after this to coach the team. So now mom has to fill in. She's like, what do I run? Hey, go to Ready List Sports. It's a preloaded playbook with about 300 plays in there for 11-on-11 down to 4-on-4. Everything's built for you. Just send the plays out to your team, the defenses, and they'll test it, and you can call it, and maybe make it a better, enjoyable, more good time for the family and the kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Thank you. It's not my idea. It's Chad Freehouse, and you guys know probably who Chad was. Colorado School Mines Harlan Hill Trophy winner, quarterback from Brush, Colorado.
Oh, nice.
He's my
He's the brainchild, man. He's the genius. I just know people and have the respect, I guess, to have him call me back once in a while.
Nice.
The pretty face, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you about is did you pay much attention to the new CBA?
A little bit, but not as much as I probably should have.
Well, I was going to ask you, if you were playing today with the legal weed, how much weed would you smoke during the season?
I wouldn't until after, because for me, I never wanted to have any excuse that could be made that would take away or be a detriment or in any way cause someone to say, oh, he wasn't, doing what he said he did. And I was always 100% there and putting in the effort. Not to say that in this environment that I wouldn't try it and see. And if it helped on, Thursday night to get to sleep, because I just spent the day from, 5:30 in the morning till 12 at night, basically having plays run through my head, and then Shanahan would change it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'd have to relearn the entire thing. And it's like, So,
right. Well,
you're stressed out. I'm grinding my teeth at night. I'm breathing like in my sleep, and I'm having bad symptoms, not resting, and if I could have helped myself wake up and be ready to go and have that extra little bit, then, hell yeah, I would have looked into it, especially to get off of the anti-inflammatories that caused me to have mud butt and break out on my back and feel kind of like I had to just take a shit all the time. It sucked.
Yeah. And when you were playing, that's before anybody was even talking about Toradol as a bad thing, right? It was just,
oh man, it was just like walk up and just walk through the locker room, go to the spot, pull your butt cheek down, bam.
Yeah, we joke about, I was trying to be a little bit funny, with that question, how much would you smoke weed? But it's we know more about it now and what benefits it does sort of provide or can provide, or even with CBD. But to your point, I'm the type of person who would want that as my excuse if I screwed up. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually the weed is why I made a lot of mistakes.
Why I threw that pick.
Yeah.
The thing that's funny is there were numerous guys I knew were, and I didn't care. It's just, for me, that's just how I handled it. I just felt, throughout all my career, I would have a beer maybe on a Friday night at an event, but I wasn't sitting at home getting drunk ever until maybe after the games. I'd drink some beers to help get to sleep. And as my career went on, there was some use of cannabis to help with easing the stress. And if anybody thinks, oh man, I can't root for Plummer anymore, then good, don't root for me, because I was allowing myself to continue to go out there and bust ass for you fans and the players and my teammates, and lay shit down in a hardcore way that my guys knew I was coming to play no matter what. So I had my remedies, and that's what I did. So I think now it's a great question. And, I would for sure have been taking CBD like crazy all the time. It would have been like intravenous after a game, shoot me up with that stuff, because it's magical. And hopefully that will help prolong some of these guys, not only careers, but safeguard their post careers a little bit more. And NFL might not even know that allowing some of this stuff they did in the CBA might have just saved the entire NFL from sure death that was happening and going to occur, or become a real weird game, like, a sci-fi movie that we saw in the 80s, man, or only the fittest, strongest, baddest ass, desperate mofos in the world were playing it,
Rollerball. Is that what it is?
I don't know. Yeah, man. Good call. Great.
Sounds like a rollerball scene. If that's an option for you, because you played a full career, you played 10 years. That's a long time to play in the league, but there's still kind of the thought that you retired kind of, I don't want to say early, but you left probably a few years on the field of really good play. Do you think if that's an option for you, you last a little longer, you go a few more years?
That as an option, and being able to opt out of Arizona after year 3 and go to Denver would have kept my career alive a little longer. No offense to the Cardinals. They gave me a lot of chances, and it was a great 6 years. But,
when reality sets in post-career and you see guys like land on certain teams and win Super Bowls, you're like, man, okay, bad luck. Yeah, I think it would have. I think that the hemp oils for sure, and whether or not I was smoking marijuana or using THC and, microdosing that alongside, not getting high, but just using enough to benefit from all of its medicinal properties. I can tell you right now that my knees feel better than they did when I retired, and then better than they did 5-6 years even after. And the real thing that happened for me was to get active again and to have the sense of mind that what was bothering me wasn't necessarily maybe all the injuries, but maybe my diet, and just not that I was unhealthy, but I would drink beers every night, couple beers, ate a lot of sugar, snacked a lot, and then I kind of cut all that out, and I dropped some pounds, and now that helps a lot. I feel way better. I can run, jump, do a lot of fun stuff still. So yeah, I left some years on the league, but I bought myself a lot more valuable years post-career that will allow me to, man, when I'm 60, I'm going to still be able to bone out if I got to, so the bus doesn't hit me,
Right. I think we just have one last question, and it's one from Will that he said he has always wanted to ask you. So
yeah, no, this has been stirring in my head for a while. What was it like being the best number 16 quarterback to ever throw a pass to Jerry Rice?
Ooh, what? Well, you're trying to make me feel real good, but I'm a realist too, even though I'm extremely optimistic, because every year the Cardinals, I thought we had a chance. Thank you for that, but Jerry Rice, that was so amazing, man, to get to throw the ball to him. I don't think I've ever been that nervous in my life throwing the football to that dude. He ran the first little Oscar 5-yard out route that I got the chance to throw to him, and man, my butthole was so tight. I was just like, don't mess this up. Then I said, man, come on. And I dropped back and dropped the dime on him, But every time he'd get up, of course, I'm wearing 16. Montana was like guy I loved and I'd been compared to. You're betting your ass I was trying to put that thing on a dime right where he didn't have to do shit, but just like bop. Which
that's great.
Led to a few bad throws, but it was cool to get to throw to him, and he was a class act, man. He stood up and basically said, I'm not going to take some young kid's spot. I've done my thing. I'm going to step away, and called the team up and told us all that. And what an amazing, phenomenal dude, just worked his ass off. And you can see why, he'd go in and work out right after practice. 30 minutes, he wouldn't stop, just bam, do almost everything in the weight room. And it'll take me an hour and a half to do what he did in 30 minutes. So efficient, disciplined, badass dude. But thank you. I think he thinks that too. The best number 16 pass he ever got was from me.
Right, exactly.
That's what I thought.
What? And that was year what, 8 or 9 for you in the season or in your career?
I think that was year 9, maybe before year 9.
Yeah, so 9 years in the NFL, and you still get the jitters to throw to Jerry Rice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, I had the jitters meeting Randall Cunningham after Minnesota beat us in the playoffs. Now I get to go out there and slap dap with that Randall, man. That was my favorite QB growing up. That awesome to watch him play. So yeah, man, I'm still a fan and a little kid at heart when I get around a lot of these guys, because I can remember how they made me feel as a kid, and that's why sports are so good. And I'm sure a lot of people miss sports right now, but go out and play some games. Go out and play sports. If you got kids, go out and play some games with them. Go invent some games. Go get creative. Go work your ball skills against the side of the wall. You don't have to have football on to live.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Kind of nice not hearing Mel Kiper all the time and Sean McShay and blah, blah. This guy here, this is my draft board. What's different from yours, dude? You know why? Because I don't know, because I think too much. But
yeah,
people have too much time on their hands. A
little less mock drafts. Well, thanks for joining us today, Jake. Appreciate you having you on. Ready List Sports is what everybody should check out, right?
Yeah, ReadyListSports.com. And you guys, thank you. Reach out again, man. If you need have more questions you want to ask or whatever. I'm I'm
Awesome.
working, getting all my stuff done, but I'm available to get out. And you guys got a good show. You make me laugh a lot. You guys,
No, I appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, now's not a good time for people to say they don't have the time to do something like this.
Yeah, we're all busy here.
It's kind of actually mean to reach out right now and be like, hey, man, you want to get on my podcast? You said reach out. Like, damn, how could I tell them no?
Oh, what am I going to say?
Gotta think of an excuse quick.
The isolation, the quarantine. We're doing quarantine clinics online. So that's what I'm calling them, the quarantine clinics, football clinics for the coaches. So everyone's staying in touch. So, guys, peace. Everyone be safe and healthy, and hopefully find some happiness. Thanks for having me on the show today, guys.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Appreciate it.